Intentionally, after seeing this image, mostly the only one word that comes to their mindset, it is slavery. So, what is slavery? Why does slavery still exist, and does it impact our society in the present? Of course, slavery is the person that owned by another. They have no right to accuse. The owner control what they work, act, and where they live. Slavery had already existed all through history in many and most of the places. The old Greek, the Roman, Incas, and Aztec all had slaves. A slave may be a human class as property and who is constrained to work for nothing. Slavery is an old-time regularly came approximately as the result of obligation. Birth into a slave family, child surrender, war, or a punishment for the crime.
As what we have heard already, the history of slavery spanned in many cultures, nationalities, and religions from ancient time until to the present day. However, the social, financial, and the lawful position of slavery have different systems including time and places. Like what we can see in this picture above, it is a large and untellable story. Although it is difficult to tell the exact year where the slavery began. The historian estimated that the instrument event happened roughly 11,000 years ago.
Slavery in ancient Greek. Rather than rebellious men who were simply killed, ancient Greek chose women and children as a slave for household purposes. Thus, for any newborn baby to a slave woman who had a father was free, as the status based on them as well. Demand for agricultural slavery increased with the rise of the Greek city-state and the industrial production of cotton, also leading to increase in the war. In Athens, we saw slaves more than freemen in 5th century of BC.
As we can see in this picture, it is about the US slavery. People were abducted from the continent of Africa in the 17th and 18th century, coerced into the slavery in the American colony, and abused to serve as an indentured servant and serve in the cultivation of crops such as tobacco and cotton. In the mid-19th century, the westward extension of America and the abolition revolution provoked a massive controversy about slavery that would break the country apart in the Bloody Civil War.
Slaves were generated into many ways. There have been two basic types of slavery throughout the recorded history. The most common has been what is called household slavery, patriarchal, or domestic slavery. Although domestic slaves occasionally work outside the household, for example in haying or harvesting, their primary function was that of menials who served their owners in their house or wherever their owners might be, such as in military services. They also escorted their owners, carried and delivered messages, acted as a travel companions. Household slavery sometimes merged in varying degree with the family of the owners. So, the boy became the adopted son and the woman became the wife. Temple slavery, state slavery, and military slavery were relatively rare and distinct from domestic slavery. But in a very broad outline, it can be categorized as a household slaves of a temple or state.
A major type of slavery was productive slavery. Although slave was also employed in the household, they also produced marketable commodity in mills or on plantation, such as planting, cultivating, or sugar cane. Moreover, slaves also worked in textile mill, ironwork, and factory. Other slaves also labor as lumberjack, deckhand on the river, and in grist mill. Other slavery also engaged in construction such as road or railroad.
Slave trade is the cultural selling and buying of enslaved persons. Slavery has been existed throughout the world since ancient times. Trading in slaves has been equally universal. Over the period of Atlantic slave, from approximately 1526 to 1867, over 12.5 million of slavery has been shipped from Africa, and 10.7 million had arrived in America. The Asiatic slave is the most likely cause in human life of all of the long-distance global migration.
The transatlantic slave trade began during 15th century when Portuguese and subsequently other European kingdoms were finally about to expand and reach overseas. The Portuguese first began to kidnap people from the west coast of Africa and take the enslaved back to Europe. By 1480, Portuguese ships were already transporting Africa for use as a slave on sugar plantations in the Cape Verde and Maria Island in the eastern Atlantic. The Dutch became the famous slave trade during the part of 1600, and the following century, English and French merchants controlled about half of the transatlantic slave trade, taking a large percentage of the shipments cargo from the regions of the West Africa between the Seagulls and Niger River.
Even though slavery was officially abolished in 1865, it still had many impacts on the modern day. Slavery does not only come in the form in which individuals claim someone else selling or purchasing people, but today it exists in various characteristics known as modern slavery, including bonded labor, forced labor, human trafficking, child slavery, and others.
According to this International Labour Organization, there were approximately more than 40 million of people become the victim of modern slavery. That included an estimation of 25 million people in forced labor as well as for forced marriage. There were exactly 15.4 million people. It has been witnessed that a significant majority of victims are women and children.
What is bonded labor? And do you ever see kind of this slavery before? Well, the bonded labor, also known as debt creation, happened when people hand themselves over into the slavery, such as the security against the loan or when they receive debt from their relative. It can be made to look like an employment agreement, but where workers start debt to repay. Usually in brutal situations or when they just find that paying the loan is impossible, then the slavery becomes permanent. However, this kind of slavery is deeply rooted around the world. It is most common in India, Pakistan, Bangladesh, and Nepal.
After you see all this image, what do you think? This is about the effect of human trafficking or crime when men, women, or children are forcibly involved in the violent form such as signal, imitation, labor, crime, and forced marriage. It is the process of moving people from one place to another through the use of violence. Example, in the United States, men under the age of 18 are considered victims of sex trafficking under a law recognized as a form of the modern-day slavery.
Children are forced to join or participate in any activity without their acceptance. Children have been forced to join in many other ways such as baking, selling illegal items, overwork, and many other more. Like in North Korea, children work for many hours per day, but they didn't get any money. Moreover, some of the children that are lower age can't go to school, and they can face some cruel beating from them if those children did not listen to them or listen to what they command or assign to them.
Forced labor is forcing people to do something they don't like against their mind. People have to do work with violence, detention, murder, and so on. Both men and women in India have to enslave because of repaying the debt from last generation. They have to do all the work that they were assigned to, and they do not have enough time to rest. Due to the large number of people are enslaved, we have to fight against slavery. In order to end it, we have to research more about the slavery or participate in anti-slavery organization and also be volunteer in that organization in order to end the slavery.